Hey guys and gals, Vlad here with AVT-Astro, and today I've got a special treat for you guys, and that is my first cooperative video with Joe Jaguar City Smartphone Astronomy. For those of you that might not have seen Joe's channel, I do highly encourage you guys to check it out. He does a lot of the same type of content as I do, so that's, reviews of astro gear, comparison videos of like telescopes and different types of gear, and how-to videos as well. Also, similarly to myself, he's been in the hobby for a long time, well over 20 years, and even worked in an astronomy store at one point. He also does do guest lectures at schools. So without further ado, let's get down to the video. Joe, good to see you again, man. Welcome to my channel.
Thanks, Vlad. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. So this is our first video together. I'm really excited. Like I said in my intro, I'm like really excited to introduce, people that might have not seen your channel on my channel. And the reason for that, again, is because, I feel like we have a lot of the same type of content. Actually, interestingly enough, we've even had a lot of the same type of scope. So like, I find that to be really cool.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think we have a lot of similar videos in as far as reviews and comparisons, but we do it slightly different. So maybe your fans might like the way I word it, and my fans might like the way you word it. But if they like you or me, they should like each other.
That's exactly how I feel about it. But anyhow, just in case, like our viewers are not really familiar, with one or the other, I feel like, like a couple of like, quick, like kind of intro questions would be kind of cool. How long have you been in the hobby, and what part of the world are you from, or where do you live, I guess?
Okay, so the easy part is I live in Canada.
Canada, cool.
And I'm in the
But you're our northern neighbor.
Sorry, yes. You're your northern neighbor, and you're my southern neighbor. So so I'm in Canada, and it's not like an igloo here, like people think. But anyway, I observed 95% in a Bordeaux 8, which kind of is not great. However, I do get away several times to a Bordeaux 2. Yeah, I've been in the hobby since 1993.
Oh, wow.
I worked part-time at a telescope store, and I was a guest speaker at a few schools type of thing, trying to educate the kids. And 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, I started the channel. So yeah, so that's basic. I don't want to bore everybody too much, but for maybe my viewers, maybe can you tell them a little bit about you?
Yeah, so kind of, like going off the same type of question. I live in the United States in the Northwest, so so in Washington State. And then, as far as viewing locations, I view a lot from my house. I'm fortunate enough to live from a, like at a relatively dark sky site, so I'm at about a Bortle 3 sky, which
Yeah,
it's pretty cool to have that. And actually, one of the reasons that I moved out here, kind of to the country, is to kind of have a darker sky. So I'm fortunate enough to have that. A lot of times when I do go to star parties and that type of deal, I'm a member of the Rose City Astronomers. That's my local astronomy club in the Portland area in Oregon. We have several locations. Actually, our club just bought a new site that's a Bortle 1-ish type of site in Central Oregon. So yeah, so really cool to be able to get out there and enjoy, some really, really dark skies.
Wow, that's amazing. I've been to every zone except for a 1. So
yeah, they're not too common. I just happen to fortunately live near a Bortle 1 site. Like it's about a 3-hour drive or so from here, or maybe like 4 hours or so for me.
Wow.
But yeah, it's super cool to really experience that.
Yeah, cool. I with my channel, as maybe you might know, or maybe some of your viewers and some of my viewers, in case there's new ones. What I like to do is, since I'm in, the city, on the edge of the city, a white zone, Border, I'm really trying to encourage the people, because a lot of people I meet think that there's no way you can do any astronomy from this type of location. And, I have shown videos, you can see, like I can put my cell phone camera to even deep sky stuff. Most of them are open clusters, like M41, 35, 37.8, 36. There's a ton of clusters that you can see. a few nebulas, but I'm trying to encourage people, even if you live in a big city like mine, that you can still do astronomy. You can still enjoy it because it's a great hobby, as you know. But you might need to go a little bit bigger. And, with me, I try to do the deep sky objects mainly when I get to that Bortle 2. But that's my goal.
Very cool. Yeah, no, and I totally agree. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that you could see from the city, like the planets. Star clusters are actually one deep sky object that I totally agree. They usually show up, fairly well from, like even from a really light polluted city. So I didn't always
Yeah.
live in the dark sky site. I moved here actually kind of during COVID, so about 4 years ago, right when COVID kind of started. So yeah, I used to live probably not in this in this as light of a light polluted, environment. But when
Mhm.
I actually first started my channel, yeah, I was still under light pollution. So yeah,
Right.
definitely, and I do appreciate that you do make that type of content for the folks that really can't get out of the city. I think that's super cool.
Yeah. Well, I also, I actually am not driving right now. For people that have watched my videos or my fans, they know I gifted my fiance my car. So,
Cool.
yeah, I just try to do the best you can in your situation.
Very cool.
But so right now I'm also at latitude 43, just in case people want to know. What latitude are you at, Vlad?
So that's kind of the interesting thing. Like initially, when I heard that you're from Canada, I totally assumed that you're like way up north, higher than me. But I'm actually at latitude about 46, so I'm actually further up north than you are.
A little bit further. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I mean, in the Ontario region, it does go a little bit more further south than the latitude 50 that everybody's common with. So if you're like in Washington or whatever, you're actually higher than me. But yeah, it's just interesting sometimes our perspective
yeah,
or
for sure.
yeah.
And then so overall, Joe, what would you say, like, to people that might have not seen your channel, what would you say, like, the main things that you kind of cover on your channel, and maybe like, like your top 3 videos that, like that you think that, would help out people?
Well, my top videos now are actually about Dobsons, which are really not my they're not my forte, or they're not my favorite scope, to tell you
Yeah,
the
I can
truth.
see a bunch of refractors
Kinda,
behind you.
yeah, you know what? I do have a couple SCTs, an 8-inch SCT, a 12-inch
Um,
SCT, my Bortle 2 zone, that's up there. But I'm slowly like turning to the refractor type
Very
of
cool.
thing. I had up to a 16-inch Dobson, but it's just normally because of my location in the white zone or Bortle 8 zone type of thing. The planets, double stars and clusters are the main focus because that's normally. So I just kind of like the refractors have less cool down time. They have no central obstruction, no collimation issues. So I'm kind of leaning towards, or somehow I'm ending up with more refractors,
Yeah,
but I
man.
still have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, I could see the collection growing. Yeah, and to kind of go off the same question for myself. So, like a lot of my most popular videos, they're actually comparison videos.
Mm.
So, it's kind of hard to hide. So there's a, like the Mead 178 ED behind me there. And
Right.
like so I've done like one of my like kind of like more popular videos over, over the times has kind of been the comparison between a 7-inch, 6-inch, 5-inch, 4-inch, and 3-inch Apo. I'll post a link to
Yeah.
it like in the thing below. But basically, yeah, so that's been kind of like a really popular video. And then just,
Yeah.
just kind of like some how-to videos as well.
Yeah.
Like my SCT collimation guide has gotten like gobs of views for some reason. And it's kind of interesting because there's a
Mhm.
lot of them, out there on YouTube, like, like collimation guides for SCTs. So I'm
Right.
sure really like people
Right.
like mine. But thank you for liking it.
Yeah,
So,
I've actually seen both of your videos, the collimation, the 12-inch in your backyard in your observatory shed. So I've
yeah,
seen
yeah.
that one. I've seen the comparison, the 4,
Yeah,
5, 6, 7. What's good about that? I've had your scope as well, the 7-inch. I did
yeah.
sell it. A telescope store in Canada actually wanted to buy it,
Very
so
cool.
I sold the 7-inch meat to them. But yeah, it's nice to have those comparisons. I do some of those comparisons too. I like reviewing, and I do a lot of sometimes tinkering If you have like an old mount that's not Vixen compatible in any way, you got to put the rings on the mount. So I've done some of those, how you can upgrade, how you can fix this and that. So I kind of like that as well. And then I have some videos where how to find actual objects, how to find like a cluster or a deep sky
Very
object,
cool.
in the sky. But yeah.
All right, that kind of going off of that idea. So you kind of mentioned, you have to cut loose your Mead 170 AD. Is there any scopes that you've kind of regret selling?
That mead was actually fairly big and long.
Yeah,
And for me, like, yeah, for me, portability is actually kind of tied
yeah.
with aperture. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
for me, I don't use anything bigger than EQ6. And that's a manual EQ6, not a go-to. I
Yeah.
actually, my 12 inch is a go-to, but I actually just try to use non-go-tos as far as my refractors. Yeah, I just kind of like, when you've been in the hobby long enough, as you probably did, you can just point with my Telrad
Oh yeah.
M57, the L, I can just find that stuff.
Yeah, especially
But
with the wider field scope. Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. That's actually usually what I do. A lot of people actually make fun of me because I like those really cheapy red dot finders, because that's all I ever
oh
use,
yes,
Like I just point to like, like I use triangulation. I won't get into like all that, but basically, you kind
yeah,
of point, based on like, like the other stars, about where the object is. And if you have a wider field scope, the object's right there. So it's super simple.
yeah, yeah. So as far as do I regret anything? I mean, I kind of love testing stuff. Sometimes I've read on some forums, or a new eyepiece
Yeah.
series comes out. So sometimes, or a new scope comes out. I actually have a new one behind me, the Ascar 140. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I want to try it.
Yeah, very
So
cool. Yeah.
sometimes I'm always buying stuff. I'll try it. Might not keep it forever, but I just want to see what the hype is. I want to test it. I
Yeah,
want to
for sure.
see, yeah, all the new stuff coming out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
the only one that
that's the other thing that I find like very similar about us is that I love trying out new gear. That's like kind of like, like I love
yeah,
observing, like I love seeing stuff. But I've been
yeah,
in the hobby like you for a long time. I mean, we've seen
yeah,
most like the brighter deep sky objects, the planets, I mean, countless times. But like try like having a new piece of gear kind of puts it in a new perspective for me. So I really enjoy that.
yeah, yeah. Now, to answer your question, the only one that I think I miss is when I had one time the Mead made a 7-inch Maksutov F15. Mine was just the OTA version, and I
Hmm.
think it was 21 pounds. It
Yeah.
was super razor sharp, like equal to my 6-inch refractor.
Wow.
The only thing I didn't like about it is that it took about 2 hours for cool down time, and that had a inlet and a fan. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it
Yeah.
still took 2 hours for good views, but it took 3 hours for amazing views.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was a really good scope. But like now, I think I just rather use just a pure refractor because it's ready to go
Yeah.
right away.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, like for me, kind of, going off of the same type of question, I'd say probably the scope that I regret selling the most, especially like right after I sold it for the first like 2 or 3 years right after I sold it, was the Tech 140 ED. Just a really awesome package, it's a refractor that's, large. I mean, it's not nearly as large as the Mead, so it's still very manageable. Like a one, I think most people would be able
Yeah.
to set the thing up, a lot of aperture, 140 millimeters in a refractor, it's a decent even deep sky scope really. But really what I liked about it, I mean, they're made in the US. I mean, obviously, I mean, quality wise, they're amazing. The focuser on it was a 3.5-inch feather touch, which is just an amazing
Yeah.
focuser. It's the best on the market, and then like, I guess what made me regret selling it the most,
Okay.
I've got
Yeah.
this guy right here. So this is the Explore Scientific 30 millimeter 100 degree. And this is a 3-inch
Right.
refractor. So you actually need that 3.5-inch focuser. And like I said, I got the bright idea one day to
Right.
sell the scope, and then I had this eyepiece on the diagonal for it, like literally sitting for like, I don't know, like 4 years unused, because I just didn't have a scope to, to kind of use it in. So that's what made me really
Yeah.
regret that. At this point, I have kind of replaced or gotten a couple of refractors. I've got actually a Takahashi FSQ 106 ED
Okay.
that can
Mhm.
use the side piece setup, and I also have a TOA 130 that
Okay.
supports the side piece. So at this point, like I'm not really missing the Tech 140 as much, but still overall just like a super awesome scope
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said you have the Takahashi TOA 130. I got the slightly bigger brother, the 150. The
Yeah,
downfall is it's fairly heavy. So it's actually my least used scope.
yeah,
Um, and also, as you know, it's a triplet,
yeah.
but it's a wide space triplet. So I find the
They're
cool
heavy.
down, it's very heavy
Um,
and it takes a long time for cool down. So I actually use it the least,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
the mead behind me, like I honestly, I don't think I've had it out in like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, which I feel really bad. It's a cool scope. I do enjoy using it, but
Yeah,
this is just the setup of it. The mount's really huge. I use a G11, and it requires a peer extension, and
right.
the whole setup is just kind of it's a lot of work to set up. But this year I'm kind of committed. When the plans come around, sucker's going back outside now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. Why not? Enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So kind
Mhm.
of, so that we don't make this video 14 hours long, kind of like, to conclude, what would you say your favorite scope of all time is? And I know this is a really hard question to
Oh,
answer. I know.
um, I'm kind of, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Because with me, I have a kind of a scope for everything. I got,
Yeah.
the 12-inch SCT up north. I got the refractors, like the Takashi 102 TSA, is more for what I call grab and go. Now,
Yeah.
some people might say that's not really grab and go because it's about 15 pounds, right? They might say like 8 pound might be grab and go, but that's my grab and go. I kind of am liking now. I haven't made a video. Let my the 140 Ascar. I think after using it a couple times, it's the perfect size because it's the same size as the Tech 140. So it's like it's big, but it's not too big. It's
Yeah.
not too heavy, and it's very portable. So I think that might be my favorite. But then I have a traveling scope for when I go on the plane. So it's kind of I don't know if I have a favorites,
Yeah.
but yeah.
No,
I
it's
kind of
funny. It's funny. Like to me, that question, right? Because people, the reason that I kind of asked you is because people ask me all the time. I mean, especially that have seen my channel. Like I'll meet
yeah
them locally and they'll recognize me. Like, oh yeah, you're Vlad, and you've had over 100 scopes. Like, what's your favorite
yeah
scope? And I'm
right
like, well, that's a little bit like asking, like, what's your favorite kid? I mean,
yeah yeah
so yeah, like for me, I really love refractors too. Like the TOA 130, that's an awesome scope. Like, like
yeah
if I was left with just that one scope, and that's it, like, I'd be a pretty happy guy.
yeah
Overall though, I do have a 24-inch Dob, and like if I'm at a dark start party, like at a Bordeaux 1 Sky or Bordeaux 2 or something like that, super dark. I mean, guys, like for sure that'd be the scope that that I'd want to be there, with. But I totally agree
mhm.
with you. Really, there, I've mentioned in some of my other videos, there really is no one just like perfect scope that kind of covers everything.
Okay, I see. Now I'm Vlad. I'm normal. Like so, what I do my channel is I'm almost all visual. I've done the film type of thing back in the 90s, and it's so much work. So really what I
Yeah,
do now is 98% visual, and I would say the other 2 to 5% is just cell phone imaging, because for me, I see like everybody has a cell phone on their pocket. So not
yeah, for
only
sure.
am I trying to encourage people to live in the city, try astronomy, it can be done. I'm also trying to encourage people use your cell phone. So I'm not sure on your channel what do you do or mainly do?
So basically, I do a lot of visual type of stuff. The only thing, like I've had a couple of videos about astrophotography because I do that. Like my FSQ 106 is set up for astrophotography usually. Honestly,
Mhm.
guys, like it's even though it's a pretty like high-end setup, like I only use it like and I feel guilty about it like once every 3 months.
Yeah.
I do EAA, which is electronically assisted astronomy. Have you
Right.
ever tried that out, or?
I've been thinking of getting the Sea Star, or
Oh yeah, yeah,
those smart
yeah.
telescopes.
Those are super popular right now.
Back in my mind,
Yeah,
I was thinking if I can't see, like from here, I'm 90% is in the white zone, Bortle 8 zone. So maybe if I try it, I can show some viewers, catch some of the deep sky objects. But it's just, I'm not sure. It's not really, the visual is my thing.
yeah.
The previews, the reviewing, the comparisons. That's kind of like where I'm really liking it. So I'm just not sure about EAA. I might do it in the future, but I haven't jumped on it yet.
Gotcha. Alrighty, cool, man. Well, I think we could both agree that the whole visual aspect to us anyway, and I think, that's why, again, like we kind of want to make this video because we're kind of really similarly minded there. It's kind of the thing, for us. Especially,
Yeah,
like you're under the night sky with the cool refractor. I mean, that's like about as closely that you can be connected with, outer space, that I feel.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it's super cool. And Julia, any final thoughts before we kind of close out the video?
Just maybe for my subscribers, I've been watching Vlad for I'm thinking it's at least 3 years, maybe closer to four. I've watched you from the beginning, type of thing. So if any of you guys like what I do, you're gonna like Vlad because it's very similar. He'll give you a different perspective, type of thing, and just learn from someone else too. So I think you guys will appreciate Vlad's point of view.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it. And similarly to my viewers, if you guys have not checked out Joe's channel, I highly encourage you to do so. There's a lot of really good content. I can almost guarantee it. You'll find, a bunch of videos that will be beneficial to you. So anyhow, Joe, thanks again for doing this video with me. I appreciate it, and hopefully, in the future we could come up with some other I know this is kind of like an intro video, but we could come up with more kind of like specific topics that we could do
Yeah,
videos together with.
definitely. And let's see if any of you guys want us to do more in depth on something specific. Let us know in the
Oh yeah,
comments.
by all means, that's actually a really good point. If you guys want us to do a video together on a specific topic, leave us a comment. If we notice comments that are kind of pointing to a specific thing, we'll for sure connect and and make that happen for you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, guys. So anyhow, yeah, like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Cheers.